Good evening, sports fans from all around the globe. I am back for the, I don't know, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time today. What a day here at the ECSI studio. 10:20, Julian Edlow, 10:30 actually, from DraftKings. Then what else did we have today? We had Andrew McGinnis this afternoon talking some pucks. We had the one, the only legendary Bill Krakenberg talking what's going on at South Point in Vegas. We wrapped up with the closing bell with myself and Riley Magnuson. And now it's time for some chalk talk in between the lines from Florida, the one and only Mr. Beam 'em up Scotty himself, Scott Webb. Good evening, sir.
Well, sir, I must admit I'm probably the sexiest guest you had on today.
How goes it? How goes it? How goes it?
It goes well, man. I mean, it's baseball time. I can't sleep. I just sit there and watch games all night, and then get up and watch them in the morning, and then I just keep watching games. Although, to be honest, today's games aren't that great, but tomorrow there's some games tomorrow.
I have to say, it's funny. I've been watching. Have I been intense on my seat? No, I've been watching. And I sat there Sunday. I'm losing track of days here, Scotty. But I sat there Sunday and I said, and I'm not playing Monday morning quarterback at all, but I said, what a perfect spot for Mexico against the U.S. And sure enough, Mexico got out early. The place was electric. Talk to me. Actually, give us what's going on leading up to that game with the U.S. And then, of course, I was on Sports Map Radio last night, and I says, "Oh my God, the U.S. I think they were -4.5 on the run line." I says they will mercy this team, and sure enough, 9-0 and 12-1 final. But give us a preview what you're seeing and lead us up to before we start talking and breaking down some games today.
Well, I would tell you that it's kind of like what I thought. It's hard to bet because you have you have several countries that are almost like super teams, and then you have sort of everybody else. And then when those teams match up, you're talking -300s, -400s, and when Japan plays, it's -10,000, 100,000, whatever the heck the numbers are. You just can't bet those games. But if you find a place that you can look at team totals and stuff like that, I can't do that at bookmaker, so I'm kind of out. But it's one of those spots where some of those things are in play, and it's just like tomorrow morning is the first quarterfinal game. So you got Cuba playing Australia. Cuba won Pool A in the 5-team tiebreaker thing. So they were the team that came out of that as the pool winner. And then you had Australia, who came in second to Japan in their pool. So yeah, it's even in that game, though. I mean, Cuba's I think -350 or something like that. So it's interesting, some of these games. And then it's had some amazing things have happened. I mean, Great Britain winning a game and the Czech Republic winning a game, and I mean, these guys are taxi cab drivers and stuff like that. I mean, they're not real baseball players, but it's been exciting watching some of these games, and the places they've been playing is just unreal with the people and the fans and everything that's been going on. But it's kind of like what I thought it was going to be. I mean, especially in the pool tournament. Now, it changes a little bit as we get further into this thing. When you play in the pool rounds, the starting pitcher doesn't matter as much. They still matter, but they don't matter as much. And the reason is because they can only throw 65 pitches. So most of them are out of there by the third or fourth inning. But now as they move forward, it goes to 85 pitches, and then it goes to 90 pitches. So they're going to go deeper into these games. So the starting pitchers are going to matter more. And if you can get some good starts out of these guys, and then you have a good bullpen, I think you're going to be in good shape. Now, we've talked a little bit on this show, and I've been doing a lot of this stuff. I got futures on Japan. I had Japan futures right from the beginning at plus 300, and there's nobody that now. Two things: one, they haven't played anybody yet, but two, nobody can tell me that they're not better than all these other teams. And I get it. Team USA has got they got an all-star lineup, and the Dominican Republic has an all-star lineup, but they can't pitch like Japan can pitch. They can't. Japan's got the best pitchers there are. The pitching in this tournament. So it'll be interesting to see how that then matches up as they come to the States and start playing, the semifinals and the finals. So I'm kind of looking forward to see what that looks like with their pitchers matching up against the better hitters, because Japan will play tomorrow, and Japan's already minus 600. Not tomorrow, but the next day. They're minus 600 in their semifinal or quarterfinal game. So I think that you're going to see, like, I think Cuba wins. I think that Japan moves forward, and then we'll see how these other brackets kind of play out. So some interesting things have happened. Having Great Britain win last night helped the United States more than anything else could have helped them. They had that happen, and because of that righted the ship for the United States. They don't have to worry about the tiebreaker stuff. They're in. All they got to do is win, and they're in. And they beat the crap out of Canada, and they'll beat the crap out of Colombia, and they'll be in. They'll be 3-1, and they'll be in. And then the winner of the Canada-Mexico game, they'll be in. So those two teams are going on, and we'll see how that goes. And then Venezuela won today. Venezuela, you and I talked on the show the last time, and we talked about them as being probably one of the most undervalued team out there, because you had Puerto Rico and you had team Dominican Republic. They beat them both. So and then they won today. So they're in. I mean, they're done. They're in. So now it's going to be a matter of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. And guess what? So Mexico plays Canada tomorrow in that play-in game, and then right after that, Puerto Rico plays the Dominican Republic. So those are two back-to-back stellar, all great games to watch, and the atmospheres will be it's crazy. If you Google it and you go back to the year 2013, Canada and Mexico got in a big brawl. It's been the only time they ever got these huge fights in the WBC, and I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe they don't like each other for some reason. I don't know. But it's going to be an interesting time. Now, you asked me about like Team USA, and I think that I think they loosened up a little bit yesterday. I think that when they played Great Britain, those guys were throwing the ball in there, 80 miles an hour. They're not used to that, so they're out there waiting on 95-mile-an-hour fastballs. Timing was all off, all messed up. They still won the game, but they weren't themselves in that game. And then number two, they go on to play Mexico, and Mexico, was ready to go, and they weren't. So they got hammered there. Last night they were ready to play, and they showed they were ready to play. They had different at-bats. And I think you're going to see moving forward, the offense will be what it was supposed to be. The concern with the Team USA is, can they pitch? They got a good outing last night. I think they got Merrill Kelly's going to pitch this coming game, so that won't be a problem. But, they don't have the good matchups they're going to need softball scores. So if their offense gets shut down, they're going to have a hard time winning. And we'll just kind of have to see how that goes. But I think Japan's the best team.
It's kind of comical. I'm looking here. The Dominican was minus 2,000, in some spots 3,500, like you said, against Israel. And then there was another game, Great Britain and Mexico. Mexico minus 5,000, 12.5 under overs. I mean, as you said, you can't bet some of these. You talk about matchups. You talk about, I felt real bad. I'm a coach. I've coached from T-ball all the way up to Legion and college baseball, and there's a lot of restrictions. There's like, hey, we need you to pitch 65 pitches here. It doesn't matter. I felt for that Canada pitcher because he's just like boom, 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 boom. As you said, the game before, the U.S. had said they've never seen pitches that slow in their life. Their timing was all off. They got into the cages. I really think Smoltzy's doing a hell of a job. He was talking about it. And I look at Mark DeRosa and I look at the interviews, and I think it was Mike Trout just said, hey, you have a Hall of Fame lineup here. Just let us do our job. And it's almost like when they're talking to Mark, he's like a deer in a headlight sometimes, because you could feel the tension, or I can feel the tension. Like, if I don't win this thing, I didn't do my job. Where I think it's the exact opposite. It's the team behind you where you just hand them the ball, you fill out the lineup, and they're going to go as far as their pitching goes.
Well, I would say this. So Ernie Witt, who is the manager of that Canadian team, he actually planned that game that way last night. So he planned for that kid to pitch, and that kid wasn't necessarily thrown to the wolves per se. The kid that's pitching tonight for Israel, he's 19 years old too, but he's out there throwing 95 miles an hour, and he's got some stuff behind him. And he's playing the Dominican, so that's not like any cakewalk that he's going through. So, but he planned this because he wanted his best pitchers to pitch today against Colombia, because if they beat Colombia, then that set up that game for them to play against Mexico. So if he used his best pitchers against Team USA and they lost, he's got nothing to rely on to go against Colombia. So he did it on purpose. So I think as a strategy move, that was pretty good on his part. I think where the Team USA is kind of running into some problems is they don't know how to put the batting order together. You know, who do you lead off? Do you lead off with Turner, or do you put Betts up there, or who's the guy? You know, Schwarber leads off for the Phillies, for God's sakes. So, you know, it's a matter of, you know, how do you do this? How do you get Schwarber in the game? Well, I mean, he's going to play against righties, and you know, Alonso and those guys are going to play against the other lefties, and we'll just kind of see how that mixes and matches. Although I was surprised. You know, they found a way to put Trout keep him in the game and take him out of the field. So, you know, he didn't play the field last night. He was a DH. But you got Mullins in there, and Mullins is a good player. I mean, people saw that last night. Hopefully, people are seeing what Anderson can do. I thought it was kind of interesting.
Tim Anderson. I love Tim Anderson.
He's just great. So, you know, and those guys are the energy that team needs. And, you know, when I watched Mike Trout come around his bases and, you know, jumping up, I've never seen him do that before. I've never seen him be happy on the, I mean, he's just always, you know, Mike Trout, professional baseball player, trots around, blah, blah. You know, he's not an emotional guy. He was pretty emotional about that last night. So I think that woke those guys up a little bit. I think they're ready to go. And I think they're going to have to score double-digit runs in a lot of these games to keep moving on, because they can't pitch. So we'll see how it goes. I shouldn't say double digits. That's probably not fair, but they need to score a lot. And, you know, you tell me you're going to score a lot against Japan? I don't know.
Well, I mean, just common sense, just off of the top of my head without looking at the lineup. I mean, Turner, Betts, Trout, 1, 2, 3. I don't know how you can go wrong. I mean, if you wanted to throw a lefty in there, you could sneak Schwarber in there. But I mean, you want table setters. I mean, Turner, Betts, Turner, and then you want Trout to get in at bat in the first inning. You put him in the 3 spot. I mean, not to be a jackass here, but Helen Keller can fill that lineup out.
Well, I think so too, but I think they're having a hard time, because who bets Trey Turner 8th?
No.
He did last night.
I told you, when you look at him in those listen, go back to MLB Network when he's in the studio. The guy is electric. He is just fire. He is just balls to the wall comedy. I mean, he brings it. He's scared managing this team right now. He doesn't want to make a mistake.
I don't know what his deal is, but it's hey TJ, by the way, I think it's just weird. He kind of comes across as a guy that's not all tight and stuff, but just looking at him, he feels that way. But I think the players loosened up a lot yesterday. I think they destroy Columbia. I mean, I just think they do. And then moving forward, we'll just have to see how it goes, and where so they're going on. I just don't know if they're going to be the 1 seed out of there or the 2 seed. And it depends, if Mexico beats Canada, then it's going to come down to the tiebreaker thing. Well, I shouldn't say it even that way, because Mexico beat the United States, so they'll be number 1, and United States will be number 2 seed. Doesn't matter; they just got to move on. But if Canada wins, then the United States will be the winner of the pool, and then Canada will be number 2, and that's what everybody thinks, right? Because that 5-way tie thing, and everybody's like, "Oh, the ERA is important." No, it is, but it's not as important as beating the team that you're playing. So if you're tied with that team and you beat that team, you're moving forward. Now, if you're all tied, that's a whole different other problem. That's a different thing. So we'll see how it goes.
MLB spring training moving on. There's not a lot for me to talk about. I'm not a happy camper. I don't like the way this team is formed for me locally. But again, we have Alex Cora, and he has done wonders. It kind of correlates with when they've had a good spring, they've done very well in the regular season. They were correlating 2018, and they brought up another year. I don't know. No one here locally has a good feel. What about you in Tampa? What are you seeing going on in the AL and the NL? Any key injuries since the last time we did a show? I think it's been a week now. We didn't get the Thursday night show in. So what has transpired in the MLB in the last week?
Well, I don't think there's been anything that's would go out and change a lot. So there's been a couple of things. I talk about injuries in certain ways. I think that's pretty funny, though, by the way, TJ, who says, my cousin says D-Row misses Lauren Shahadi. I think it's pretty good. So anyway, looking at like the Yankees, right? So I think the Yankees are going to start pretty sluggish. They've got injuries all over the place, and they sent down their young kids, so they're not there anymore. So Volpe and the Martian, whatever, those guys got moved down. So they're going to still have that same old curmudgeon crew of guys that they got to try to find energy from. And I just think that it's going to be hard for that team. I've said this a couple times already, if Aaron Judge doesn't play at MVP level, I mean, that team's going to be not very good. And they need Rodon right away, and he's not there. So there's issues there. And, you can tell me what you want to about Severino, but Severino is not like an ace. And he's going to be asked to be, a guy that holds the spot for Rodon. And then you got Nestor Cortez, who he hasn't even thrown a game yet. Now he's been throwing bullpens and he's been doing this, that, and the other. So I mean, he'll still pitch, but these guys are in trouble to get started with. That doesn't mean that they're not going to be good towards the thing and towards the end, but that does lead me to go and say, hey, Circa's number was 95. I just looked at DraftKings, it's 94.5. They might not win that many. Because if they get up to a sluggish start, they're going to have to win. They're going to have to go on one of those, Dodger type runs where they win, 20 wins and 5 losses or something, and then that gets them to that 100 win mark or whatever. So I kind of like the idea that keeping an eye on things and seeing how things play out. Maybe a flyer on Toronto is not a bad idea there. Because I kind of like that idea. And then I look at the Rays. just still think they got no offense. I don't know where they're going to get their offense from. I mean, Wander Franco's a good player, but when you're the number one prospect for 2 years in a row, the things you're expecting this kid to do are probably like I don't know. I don't want to say Willie Mays-ish style or some of those kind of guys, but that's what you're thinking. I mean, you're thinking this guy's going to go out and do all these amazing things, and he might not even be the best player on the team in terms of results and numbers and things like that. Now, theoretically, he probably could be, but they're only going to be as good as their pitchers go. So, they need the long-haired kid back, and they need Rasmussen to do well. Now, I will tell you this: looking at his velocity numbers, Rasmussen has rebounded very well. He's in the plus numbers. He's up to 96 miles an hour, which is really good. That's not an issue. You're throwing 96. You got McClanahan out there throwing 98. You had Glass now out there throwing 98. That's pretty tough. That's a pretty good three. And then they're all talking about Jeffrey Springs, and they're talking about Zach Eflin, for God's sakes. I mean, don't forget who Zach Eflin is. I mean, Jesus Christ, he's a guy who couldn't play for the Phillies, and now they're put him in the bullpen. He was really good. Okay, well, maybe he ought to stay in the bullpen. So anyway, that's kind of what they're thinking. And I was just reading this before we got on. The Braves have been talking about who's going to be the fifth starter, right? Because you got Fried, then you got Morton, and you got Kyle Wright, and I forget who the other one is, but you got four guys in there, and then all of a sudden it was going to be okay. Well, Bryce Elder or Ian Anderson, that's going to be your number 5 guy. Guess what they did today? They sent them both out. Neither one of them are there. They're gone. And it's like, okay, well, what are they doing? Well, they got two kids that are really doing well in spring training, and they're going to give one of them a shot. I don't know which one it's going to be yet, but if you think about like what the Braves do, and then what like the Yankees do, the Yankees send their kids out, and then they wait, and then they bring them up, and they ain't no good. And then like the Braves, oh shit, let's bring up that center fielder kid. Let's bring up this kid. Let's bring up Strider. Let's bring up this guy. Oh, they got 2 kids that can pitch. Let's bring him up. And then all of a sudden, look what they do. And they, those teams have energy, and those teams have juice. Hey, Sean Alvarez, those guys have juice, man. I'm telling you. So if you don't have the kids that give your team the energy, you're going to run into some of these doldrums and stuff. And, I think that's like the Dodgers are going to run into that a little bit this year. The Yankees are going to run into that some. The Blue Jays are young. They got kids that feed and have energy. And, I think that's kind of what you look for. That's like you want veteran guys, but you got to have veteran guys with that good mix. And if you don't have that youthful mix of guys, I think you run into trouble there. Sean asked a question. He says, is there any team that loves each other more than the Braves? Well, I'll tell you what, the Braves are great that way. But you could go down there and you can look at the Seattle Mariners, and that's a team that is youthful, and they like each other a lot. I know I'm not big on the Mariners. I'm way bigger on like the Braves, and I'm way bigger on the Angels than I am on that team than the Mariners. I don't think that they're a bad team. I just think if you stacked up the lineups and you stacked up the pitching staffs, I think the Angels have a good chance of having a better record as long as they stay healthy. And it's certainly that damn third baseman. If Rendon can stay healthy, that team's really good. I mean, they're just really good. Have you watched Japan yet in this WBC and watched Otani?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So they have run every time they played in Japan. They have run a 50% market share in Japan, which is 40 million TV sets watching them play. 40 million. I mean, are you kidding me? I think I told you the other day. I think I don't remember if it was over the phone or maybe it was on the show. I don't remember. But I watched this thing where they said, "Oh, there's a basketball game, NBA game that was on, and it got the best ratings since the Christmas game, and they have 5 million TV sets watching this show." And I'm like, "Oh my God, hold my beer, would you?" Here comes Japan with 40 million. I mean, Otani is a show. That guy is. And then every one of those players, man, you sit there and you go, okay. So Otani goes out and pitches, and then Darvish goes out and pitches, and then you got another guy that goes out. I don't remember what his name is. He's the guy that throws 100 miles an hour. And then they got this guy named Yamamoto, and he's the best one of all of them, and he pitches last. I mean, are you kidding me? And then they just hit home runs, and they go out there and they just play professional baseball. And, the fans love it. And I just can't wait for them to come over here. I'm hoping they might get to see. I would love to go see. I'm wanting Monday's game. The way I saw the brackets break out, I might be seeing Team Japan on Monday. I'm so thrilled to see that.
You talk about the Braves, and I wrap my head around what Sean was saying, and I believe it. I just listen. I'm a numbers guy. I watch the games inside and out. I eat, sleep, drink, shit baseball. It's just what I do. And the fact of the matter is, I just can't wrap myself around the numbers on the Mets in regards to Max and Verlander, and then the fact that Timmy Trumpets, Diaz, whatever you want to call him, has to be that same guy. And we've seen the good and we've seen the bad. And when he came over from Seattle, we saw the bad, then we saw the good. And so I think there's so many key components on the Mets. Hey, listen, the Phillies had a great run last year. Their back end was solid the second half. And the fact of the matter is, they added Trey Turner. I get that part, but Atlanta is just this cohesive cog that just keeps turning and turning and turning. Now a healthy Albies, now a healthy Acuna, a healthy Olsen. You just keep adding the pieces. A healthy, hopefully, Strider, and then you've talked about some of those other pieces. I'll take my chances with the Braves. I'm sorry, in that division.
There's no question. I like the Braves. And sorry to rain on TJ's parade, but the Mets are a good team. I think they're a lot like the Yankees. I mean, you're counting on some of these guys. You're counting on some of these guys to play like Lindor and these guys to be the players that they can be. And they've got to be that energy and that hype, and it can't come from the damn blue hair or the white hair or all the stupid stuff those guys do. It has to come from the actions. It's almost like you watch them, and you're watching the Dominican Republic out there, and they're running around with their all blonde hair and all that stuff, and Puerto Rico and all those guys doing all that stuff, and that's great for what is supposed to be camaraderie and teamwork and those guys loving each other and all that stuff and playing for each other. But damn it, you're going to have to figure it out a little bit better than just coloring your hair. I mean, shit, I could do that too, and I wouldn't be gray anymore. So I mean, but that still doesn't change me. Those guys gotta play. I mean, I'm looking at the score right now. It's the top of the third inning. The Dominican Republic is hitting against that 19-year-old kid. 19-year-old kid. They got 2 hits, 1 run. That's it. 2 hits and 1 run. And that's pretty good. And when Venezuela pitched against them, they struck out. What was it, 15 times, or was that Puerto Rico? I think maybe that was Puerto Rico struck out that many times.
Who pitched for the perfect game? How many pitchers?
2. They only had 2. They had 2 pitchers. Oh no, there was more than 2. But they had that game got called. So it was a run rule thing, and which is great. I mean, that doesn't change anything. I mean, the Dominican Republic has struck out 4 times already against this 19-year-old kid. Anyway, when I looked at that game, De Leon was the pitcher, and then they had another guy come on and pitch, and I think that was it, maybe 2 pitchers. So it's one of those deals where it was, the run. I don't know how you count it, right? I mean, it is a perfect game for 8 innings or whatever it was. I think it was called after 8 innings, maybe 7. I think it was 8. I think it went 8 innings. I think they scored 1 run in the 8th inning that made it a 10-run rule, and that's how. But that's kind of neat, You get a walk off. you get a walk off perfect game. Never heard of that before.
So we're going to come back Thursday night. We're going to recap everything, what is going on. What can we expect tonight and tomorrow before we get to Thursday night?
Well, I think what you're looking at tonight is what it is. I mean, the Dominican Republic's going to win. Venezuela or Mexico is going to beat Great Britain. So those teams are going to, have those wins. But it's tomorrow. Tomorrow is the big day because tomorrow is the day. And I was trying to find a line on some of these games and haven't found it yet. So I haven't seen it out there. So yeah, I'm looking at, I think Cuba is the first team that moves on to the quarterfinal or the semifinals, because I think Cuba will beat Australia. Australia is another one of those teams that doesn't really have a lot of star power, and they're starting a guy that's 33 years old, hasn't pitched in the minor league since 2016. He's pitched only one time so far in this World Baseball Classic, and he gave up 3 walks and 1 hit, and he got 3 runs, and I think he gave up. I don't even know if he got an out, and he's the guy starting for Australia. Now Australia, they've hit 6 home runs, which is tied for the lead in home runs, and they're going to face Cuba, who finally woke up their bats. Moncada has woke up. I don't know if Luis Roberts ever going to wake up. But Moncada woke up in terms of the power, in terms of doing some stuff, and that's a team that really can pitch. So I think that puts a disadvantage to the idea of Australia being able to do much. It's minus 350 or 3 something, and if I was going to look at that game in any way, I thought I saw a number somewhere where there was a team total of like Cuba over 5.5. That'd be the only way I would bet it. I wouldn't bet it. I wouldn't bet against Australia scoring runs because they've hit 6 home runs. But I would say, okay, Cuba, you've kind of woke up a little bit, and but I can't play that, and I can't find that number, somewhere where I'm going to bet it. And then the big games are going to be Mexico and Canada tomorrow, and you've got Venezuela, or Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. Now, I've got to be honest. I'm not a big fan, not at all, of Puerto Rico. So I think the Dominican Republic can beat them, but it's all about the pitcher. I think in those games, because those guys are crazy, and they got both those teams have really good bullpens. So expect quick hooks if they can't get guys out, that kind of stuff, because they're going to try to win that game. It looks like Team Canada's game is Urquidy's going to throw for Mexico. So that's a good guy to throw, but he's hittable. I mean, he's not a guy that's going to go out there and throw 100 miles an hour. And now a big concern for Canada, Freddie Freeman left the game today. I think he's got a strain, one of them side strains or whatever. So he might not play tomorrow. If he doesn't play, that puts them behind the 8 ball even more. And they've got a guy that's been around a little bit, Rob Zastrin. He's a minor league pitcher. He's going to pitch for the Pirates. He's going to pitch tomorrow for Team Canada. And then I'm trying to figure out. Let's see, where's the other one? Ben, right up Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico. Oh my God. So the Dominican Republic, they're throwing Johnny Cueto tomorrow. So he's hittable. But that's kind of like that Wainwright deal, right? Wainwright's hittable too, but Wainwright's been around so long that he kind of controls the game and the scoring a little bit, unless he just can't. And that's what's going to be interesting to see, is if Cueto can do that for the Dominican Republic tomorrow against Puerto Rico. Because if Puerto Rico gets to him and scores early, that'll be an interesting game, because I don't know who they're throwing, because they don't have it. They're throwing TBD, but I can't look up stats on TBD.
I did have that Cuba number. Our number was 370 with a 268 on the Australia side, 9.5 juiced under. It's flopping from 357, 355, 345. Nothing yet on Venezuela, Israel, Mexico, Canada, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and USA, Colombia there.
You
So
see the run line in the Mexico Great Britain game? Look at the run line.
I don't see it on this spreadsheet.
Mexico -6.5. That's the run line. -6.5, -116.
Okay, so 6.5 with a 12.5. So they're basically telling you
they're not they don't know what to tell you.
Well, no, because 9-3 would give you. I would look at Mexico's team total. I wonder if it's 8.5 or 9.5 because they're telling you Great Britain's going to score no more than 4. No, it wouldn't even be 4. It would be 3. It would be 9-3. Basically, is what they're telling you. 10-2.
I think Great Britain shot their wad last night. I think they're done. But it's because they that's the funny thing about that team. They actually hit the ball. But Mexico is going to beat that team -6.5 on the run line. I mean, whatever. Cuba's -2.5 tomorrow against Australia in a quarterfinal game, -357. So that's interesting. And then I did think I saw some number. Here we go. Australia, Mexico, Dominican. Oh, so Japan. I said Japan on March 16th at DraftKings against Team Italy. -600. That's the best line you've seen on them so far. -600.
We'll wait till the quarters. How's that sound?
Well, you better wait till at least the semifinals and finals for that team. I mean, what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to go see, and I don't really want it to be this way, but it might be. So the way I kind of looked at this bracket now is I think if Japan wins this game and they come out, I think they're going to be the team that plays on Monday when I go down there. And if the United States comes out as that's the pool winner, and then they win their semifinal game, I think they would play Japan. I don't want to see that. Mm-hmm. And I want that to be the final game, because if that's the final game, I'm a winner, man. Because I bet plus 300 on Japan, and then everybody went crazy for some damn reason on Dominican Republic. Well, I know why, but everybody went crazy and started betting them, and the numbers changed for the United States. Then they said, "Oh well, Kershaw's not going to pitch, and this is not going to pitch." I got USA at plus 325 to win this thing, so I bet both of them. So that's fine, especially if they both make it to the final. I mean, that's plus 2 units guaranteed, just guaranteed.
And then you just go and enjoy the game.
Well, yeah, but I'm hoping it's the final though, not the semifinal. Because if it's the semifinal, then shit, one of my guys gets knocked out in the semifinal.
That means you just got to win the finals. That's all.
Yeah, well, if it's Japan, I'm okay because they got pitchers. If it's the United States, I don't know if they got any pitchers. They're gonna have to phone home and bring somebody over here. They got Max ready to go. Bring me Scherzer over here.
Closing thoughts, sir.
Well, I've had a lot of fun with this WBC, and it's been really entertaining. And you know what? Comparative to some baseball that you see, it's probably not the best that you're ever going to watch. But it's been a bunch of teams that are trying to win and doing everything they can to win, even though they don't compete sometimes. And the fans and the stadiums and the rockingness and all the stuff that goes on with it makes it fun, because sometimes you go watch Major League Baseball, not that they're not the best players in the world, but it gets mundane because they go out there and you hear the music and you hear this, but it ain't no raucous environment. I mean, it's not like craziness. It's even in playoff games, like if you went to a Philly game when they were playing, I mean, I bet you that was a lot of fun where those guys were going crazy, hitting the ball and doing all the stuff the Phillies were doing. That'd be a lot of fun to go see and be a part of, which is what these games are like. So that's what's been great for me. I've loved it, and I need to get some sleep. So I think today's going to be that day because I don't think I'm going to sleep much tomorrow.
You can catch everyone, catch us back here on Thursday night at 9 p.m. Myself and Scott, go follow Scotty at Webby20 MLB. Follow myself at EC Sports Invest. As the season gets closer, myself and Scott will be working on a Tuesday, Thursday, and hopefully a weekend spot to get everyone ready. We will be circling back the wagons, as we say, as we get close to the first pitch of MLB, talk some futures, some division winners, some potential Cy Young home runs, and all that good stuff. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one, the only Mr. Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB, we wish everyone a blessed evening. It's been a great, great day here at the ECSI Media Group. Only warming up. We got a lot more bigger things brewing here. Keep us tuned on speed dial. Turn on those notifications, and we'll see you soon.